There's a frequency shift happening inside you, and it's making the ordinary unbearable. Not because you've become bitter or broken, but because you've become awake. What once felt like home now feels like a costume that doesn't fit. What used to satisfy now leaves you hollow. And the strangest part, you can't explain it to anyone without sounding like you've lost your mind. But you haven't lost anything. You've found something. You've tapped into a vibration that the sleeping world doesn't operate on. And once you hear that frequency, you can't unhear it. Most people will tell you to be grateful for what you have. They'll say you're overthinking, that you're too sensitive, that you need to get real. But here's what they don't understand. You're not rejecting normal life because you're ungrateful. You're outgrowing it because your soul has expanded beyond the container it used to live in. You're not broken. You're breaking free. And that discomfort you feel, that's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something is finally right. You wake up and the routine feels scripted. Coffee, commute, conversations that circle the same safe topics, small talk that feels smaller every day. You watch people move through their lives on autopilot and you realize you used to be one of them. But something shifted. Maybe it was a loss. Maybe it was a moment of clarity. Maybe it was nothing dramatic at all, just a slow accumulation of questions you couldn't ignore anymore. And now you can't plug back into the matrix. You can't pretend the script is real. You can't fake enthusiasm for things that don't touch your soul. The work you do feels hollow, not because the work itself is bad, but because you've started to see through the illusion of purpose it pretends to offer. You're trading hours of your life for a paycheck, and those hours feel heavier now. You look around at your colleagues and wonder if they feel it too, or if they've just gotten better at numbing themselves. You sit in meetings where people speak with such conviction about things that, in the grand scheme of existence, mean almost nothing. And you nod. You participate. But inside, there's a voice screaming, "This isn't why I'm here." The relationships feel shallow. Not all of them, but most. You notice how conversations stay on the surface, how people avoid anything too real, too vulnerable, too honest. They talk about the weather, the news, their weekend plans. And it's not that these things don't matter, it's that they're being used as shields. Shields against depth. Shields against truth. Shields against the kind of connection your soul is starving for. You try to go deeper. You ask questions that matter. And you watch people's eyes glaze over, watch them retreat into safer territory. And you realize you're not speaking the same language anymore. Even the things that used to bring you joy feel different. The parties, the distractions, the entertainment designed to fill the void. You show up and you feel like an alien observing human behavior. Everyone's laughing at jokes that don't land for you anymore. Everyone's excited about things that feel empty to you now. And you're not judging them. You're just elsewhere. You're vibrating at a different frequency, and suddenly you're aware of how much energy it takes to pretend you're not. This is the loneliness of awakening, and it's one of the most misunderstood experiences on the planet. People will tell you to find your tribe, as if it's as simple as joining a book club. They'll tell you to lower your standards, as if your hunger for authenticity is a character flaw. They'll tell you to stop being so serious, as if the depth you crave is a burden you need to shed. But the truth is, you're not asking for too much. You're just done settling for too little. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he didn't say it would be comfortable. He didn't say it would be easy to walk away from the life everyone told you to want. He didn't say your family would understand, or your friends would support you, or society would applaud you. He said it was a privilege, and privileges often come with a price. The price of awakening is the death of your old identity. The price of expansion is the shedding of what no longer fits. And the price of truth is the discomfort of standing alone in it until others catch up. The ancient Stoics understood this. Epictetus taught that most people are asleep, living in a dream they mistake for reality. And the moment you wake up, you're confronted with a choice. Go back to sleep or stay awake and navigate a world full of sleepers. Going back to sleep is tempting. It's easier. It's lonelier to be awake. But once you've seen the dream for what it is, you can't unsee it. Once you've tasted freedom, you can't go back to the cage, even if the cage is comfortable. What's happening to you isn't a crisis. It's a quantum shift. You're moving from one state of being to another, and the in-between is uncomfortable because you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. You're in the chrysalis, and inside the chrysalis, it's dark. It's disorienting. It's isolating. The caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly. It just knows everything it once was is dissolving. That's where you are. And the ache you feel isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something right. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and join a community of awakened souls walking the same journey of spiritual alignment. Here's what you need to understand. Normal life wasn't designed for awakened beings. It was designed for survival, for conformity, for keeping people small enough to fit inside systems that profit from their unconsciousness. Normal life rewards obedience, not authenticity. It rewards performance, not presence. It rewards fitting in, not standing out. And you were fine with that when you didn't know any better. But now you do. Now you see the game. And once you see it, you can't play it with the same innocence. This is why you feel like an outsider in your own life. Because you are. You're not meant to fit into a world that's too small for your soul. You're not meant to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You're not meant to numb your sensitivity, dull your awareness, or apologize for seeing what others refuse to see. You're meant to outgrow the illusion, and that's exactly what you're doing. Think of it like this. Imagine you've been living in a house your entire life. It's familiar. It's safe. Everyone you know lives in similar houses. And then one day, you walk outside and realize the house isn't real. It's a set, a stage. A carefully constructed illusion designed to keep you in place. And now that you see it, you can't go back inside and pretend it's solid. You can't have the same conversations at the dinner table. You can't laugh at the same sitcom. You can't participate in the charade with the same conviction. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've seen behind the curtain. This is the price of truth. It isolates you from those still living in the illusion. But it also liberates you from the prison they don't know they're in. And that liberation, as lonely as it feels right now, is the beginning of your real life. Not the life you were told to live. Not the life that looks good on paper. But the life your soul came here to experience. You're being called to something bigger. Not bigger in the egoic sense. Not more impressive, more successful, more admired. Bigger in the spiritual sense. Deeper, truer, more aligned with the frequency of your authentic self. And that calling doesn't come with a clear roadmap. It doesn't come with approval from the people who knew the old you. It comes as a quiet knowing, a pull, a discomfort that won't go away no matter how much you try to rationalize it. This is why you can't stand normal life anymore, because normal life is a lie you've outgrown, and your soul won't let you go back to sleep. It won't let you play small. It won't let you waste another day pretending to be someone you're not. And yes, that's uncomfortable. Yes, that's disorienting. Yes, that makes you feel like you don't belong anywhere. But you know what? You don't belong in the old paradigm. You belong in the new one. And the discomfort you're feeling is the labor pain of your rebirth. Let's talk about what happens next. Because this isn't just about recognizing the problem. It's about understanding that the problem is the portal. The fact that you can't tolerate superficiality anymore means you're ready for depth. The fact that you can't fake enthusiasm anymore means you're ready for authenticity. The fact that you feel like an outsider means you're ready to find your real tribe. Not the people who knew you when you were asleep, but the people who recognize you now that you're awake. And here's the shift you need to make. Stop trying to fix the discomfort. Stop trying to force yourself back into the life that no longer fits. Stop apologizing for your sensitivity, your awareness, your inability to settle for less than truth. Instead, let the discomfort guide you. Let it show you what's no longer aligned. Let it reveal where you're still clinging to a version of yourself that's already dead. Let it burn away everything that isn't you. This is the alchemy of awakening. You're not losing your mind, you're losing your illusions. And every illusion that falls away creates space for something real to emerge. Every false connection that dissolves creates space for genuine intimacy. Every meaningless pursuit you abandon creates space for a purpose that actually matters. You're not falling apart. You're falling awake. And the falling is terrifying because you don't know what's waiting at the bottom. But what's waiting at the bottom is you, the real you, the you that was buried under layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear. The mirror is cracking, and behind the mirror is not darkness, but light. Not chaos, but clarity. Not emptiness, but essence. You've been taught to fear the breakdown, but the breakdown is the breakthrough. You've been taught to avoid the void, but the void is where transformation happens. You've been taught to cling to the familiar, but the familiar is what's keeping you caged. So what do you do with this? How do you navigate a world that feels too small when you've grown too big for it? First, you stop gaslighting yourself. Stop telling yourself you're being dramatic or ungrateful or difficult. You're not. You're evolving. And evolution is never comfortable. The caterpillar doesn't judge itself for dissolving. The seed doesn't apologize for breaking open. And you don't need to pathologize your own transformation just because it doesn't look like what society told you growth should look like. Second, you honor the transition. You're in the in-between. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. And the in-between is sacred. It's where the magic happens. It's where you shed the skin that no longer fits. It's where you release the relationships, the habits, the beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't try to skip to the part where everything makes sense. Trust the dissolution. Trust the uncertainty. Trust that your soul knows what it's doing even when your mind has no idea. Third, stop seeking validation from people who are still asleep. They can't understand what you're going through because they haven't been where you are. And that's not their fault, but it's also not your responsibility to make them understand. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your awakening. You don't owe anyone proof that your discomfort is valid. You don't owe anyone a breakdown of why you can't just be happy with what used to be enough. Your knowing is enough. Your inner truth is enough. And the people who are meant to walk with you will recognize you without needing a thesis statement on your transformation. Fourth, start building the new. You can't go back, so stop trying. You can't unlearn what you've learned. You can't unsee what you've seen. The bridge behind you has burned. And that's not a tragedy. That's a liberation. Now you get to build the life that's actually aligned with who you are, not who you were told to be. And that starts small. It starts with one honest conversation, one boundary set, one choice made from your center instead of from fear or obligation. One moment where you say, "This doesn't serve me anymore, and I'm done pretending it does." The universe doesn't punish you for outgrowing things. It rewards you. But the reward doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes the reward looks like space. Space for something better to enter. Space for your real life to begin. Space for the people, the work, the purpose that's actually meant for you. And that space feels empty at first. It feels lonely. It feels like you've lost everything. But you haven't lost anything real. You've only lost the illusions. And illusions, no matter how comforting, were never going to sustain you. Here's the paradox. The more you try to fit in, the more isolated you become. Because you're isolating yourself from yourself. You're abandoning your own truth to maintain connections that were never built on truth to begin with. But the moment you stop trying to fit in, the moment you stand in your authenticity, even if it means standing alone, you become magnetic to the people who are supposed to find you. You become a beacon for other awakened souls who have been searching for someone who speaks their language. You become living proof that it's possible to walk away from the illusion and survive. Not just survive, thrive. This is your initiation. Every spiritual tradition speaks of it. The dark night of the soul, the ego death, the descent into the underworld, the vision quest, the wilderness. It has 1,000 names, but it's the same journey. It's the journey from who you thought you were to who you actually are. And it requires you to lose everything that isn't you. Your false identity, your borrowed dreams, your people-pleasing patterns, your need for external validation, your attachment to comfort. All of it has to go. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being purified. And on the other side of this purification is a version of you that's unshakable. A version of you that doesn't need permission to exist. A version of you that doesn't collapse when others don't understand. A version of you that knows its worth isn't determined by how well it fits into spaces that were never designed for its expansion. That version of you is being forged right now in the fire of this discomfort. And the fire is hot, but it's not destroying you. It's refining you. You're not crazy for feeling this way. You're awake. And being awake in a sleeping world is one of the most courageous things you can do. Because it would be easier to go back to sleep. It would be easier to numb yourself, distract yourself, shrink yourself back down to a size that doesn't threaten anyone. But you can't. And deep down, you don't want to. Because you've tasted something real. You've felt the frequency of truth. And no amount of comfort is worth trading that away. The old world is crumbling, and you're watching it crumble from the outside. You're no longer invested in propping it up. You're no longer interested in participating in systems that require your unconsciousness to function. You're done performing, done pretending, done sacrificing your soul for the approval of people who wouldn't recognize your soul if it introduced itself. And that's not arrogance. That's clarity. That's self-respect. That's the beginning of living a life that's actually yours. So when you feel that ache, that restlessness, that inability to engage with normal life the way you used to, don't pathologize it. Celebrate it. Because it means you're growing. It means you're evolving. It means you're becoming too big for the boxes they tried to put you in. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's terrifying. But it's also the most honest thing you've ever done. It's also the most aligned you've ever been. It's also the beginning of everything you were actually meant for. The river doesn't apologize for flowing. The moon doesn't apologize for its phases. The tree doesn't apologize for shedding its leaves. And you don't need to apologize for outgrowing a life that was too small for your spirit. You don't need to apologize for wanting more than surface-level connections. You don't need to apologize for refusing to trade your authenticity for belonging. Because the belonging you're looking for doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from standing out. It comes from being so fully yourself that you attract the people, the opportunities, the life that's meant for the real you. This is the death that's required for the rebirth. And it's not a comfortable death. It's messy, it's disorienting, it's full of grief for the life you thought you'd have, the person you thought you'd be, the relationships you thought would last forever. But on the other side of that grief is freedom. On the other side of that death is life. Real life. Not the scripted version, not the performance, not the role you were cast in before you even knew you had a choice, but the raw, unfiltered, unapologetic life that your soul came here to live. You can't stand normal life anymore because you weren't born to live a normal life. You were born to break the mold, to question the script, to refuse the limitations that everyone else accepts as inevitable. You were born to be the one who doesn't fit because your misfit energy is what cracks open the paradigm for everyone else. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out. And standing out feels lonely until you realize that your visibility is your service. Your refusal to shrink is your rebellion. Your commitment to truth is your revolution. The discomfort is the compass. Follow it. It's pointing you toward your real life. It's pointing you away from the relationships that drain you and toward the connections that nourish you. It's pointing you away from the work that numbs you and toward the purpose that ignites you. It's pointing you away from the person you were pretending to be and toward the person you've always been underneath the conditioning. Trust it. Even when it leads you into the unknown. Especially when it leads you into the unknown. Because the unknown is where your freedom lives. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The discomfort you're feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something's finally right. It's a sign that you're waking up. It's a sign that you're choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over approval, soul over survival. And that choice, as hard as it is the most powerful choice you'll ever make. Because it's the choice that sets you free. So if you can't stand normal life anymore, good. That means you're ready for the extraordinary. That means you're ready for the depth, the magic, the alignment that normal life could never offer you. That means you're ready to stop living someone else's dream and start living your own. And your dream, it doesn't look like anyone else's. It doesn't fit into the mold. It doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't make sense to people who are still asleep, but it's yours and it's real and it's waiting for you to claim it. If this resonated with you, don't just consume it and move on. Let it land. Let it settle. Let it confirm what you already knew but were afraid to believe. You're not broken, you're awake. And being awake is the beginning of everything. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe if you want more truth. Not for the algorithm, but for your own alignment. Because the path gets easier when you're walking it with others who see what you see, feel what you feel, and know what you know. You're not alone in this. You're just ahead of the curve. And the world needs people like you. People who refuse to settle, who refuse to sleep, who refuse to accept normal as the standard. Keep going. Your real life is just beginning.